Alrighty, the first thing that we're going to be starting off with is what evaluating expressions even means. Alright, so if we look here, evaluating, the very first word, evaluating, what I want you guys to think of it as is the word solve. Okay, every time you're given a question, maybe a question like evaluate the following expression, that just means solve the following expression. But then comes the second question, what does expression mean, Neil? Well, from this point forward, I want you to think of expression as the mathematical problem that's given. So the problem. So evaluate the following expression. In your notes right now, you should honestly write that question down. Because this right here is something you might see on the GED word for word. I'm practically giving you one of the questions, right? So they give you this, and they give you the expression, aka the problem, which is right here. I'll do it in a different color so you can visually see how an expression will look like. 2x plus 5, right? But they'll add something else to that question. They'll say when x equals 3. Evaluate the following expression, 2x plus 5. There's the expression when x equals 3. So your first lesson, how do we solve evaluating expression problems? It's quite simple. If you haven't, if you don't know what you need to do yet, let me explain it to you. All we need to do is substitute, all right? Substitute any x that we see in our expression, which is, in this case, I just see 1, with the value that they give us for x in the question itself, which in this case, they told us what x was. They said x equals 3. So all you need to do is substitute that 3 in for any x's you see in the expression, which is right there. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's write it down here so that we could visually see it bigger. Okay, so there's my expression, and like I just said, I need to substitute any x's with the value of the x they gave us, in this case 3. But here's your first lesson. You can't just, get this x and be like, okay, I'm gonna throw it away and put in a 3, because that's what Neil just said. Substitute any letters with the value that they gave us for that letter. That is half true, okay? Because if you follow that exactly like I said it, you'll get this, 23 plus 5, which is wrong, folks. You can't be doing this. If we go back, this is your very first rule you need to remember. When you go to substitute that x, when you literally go and you, what's it called? Let's do this instead. We can visually see. On your paper, you'll literally erase it. Before you substitute that letter with the value, what you must do first is substitute the letter with parentheses, all right? This is a rule in math that you must follow. The rule is, let's, add a little note on the side because, it's really important to know this. Okay, we're gonna put this on the side right there. Our very own note that you gotta always remember. When substituting letter with a number, replace letter with parentheses first. That is an extremely important rule. That's your first algebraic rule that you guys must always follow from this point forward, okay? You must substitute the letter with parentheses first. Why? Because then you get to do what I said, which is inputting that value in. So now you put in the 3. All right. What's the difference between this and the thing that you had before without the parentheses is because this one will give you the correct answer and this one will give you the wrong answer. Did you need me to spell it out for you? I'm pretty sure you did, because I know how hard math is for y'all, but it's actually pretty straightforward. But here's the thing, now comes the real question. How do we solve this? Well, you guys probably know the answer already, right? This is a pretty simple expression. This is a pretty simple problem for some. If it's not, for you. It's totally fine. But here's the thing, we aren't doing this by hand. The whole purpose of today's lesson is to whip out our trusty old calculator, okay? We are going to input all of this that we just did. We rewrote the problem with parentheses. We inputted the number in for x. We're gonna type this out exactly the way it is into our calculator. So I see a 2, I'm gonna put a 2. I see a parentheses, I'm gonna put a parentheses. I see a 3, I'm gonna put a 3. I see a closed parentheses, I'm gonna put a closed parentheses plus 5. And then you let the calculator do the math for you. Today's lesson is to practice our calculator while also implementing and mastering our little rule that we have come to learn. So let's look at a more complicated expression. Let me erase this one. Let me give you the problem. Evaluate the following expression. So here's the expression: 2x squared plus 4 minus 3. Let me put an x there. Let me put a y here too, just for the heck of it. When x equals -2 and y equals 4. All right, so there's a problem. Evaluate the following expression. So solve this problem when your x's equals -2 and your y equals 4. What must you do? Well, we already know evaluating expression problem says all you got to do is look for all your letters and substitute those letters with the number that they gave us for that letter, right? So we know whenever we see an x, we have to put the -2. Wherever we see a y, we have to put in a 4. It's telling us what we need to do. It's telling us what those letters are. So let's go substitute them. But wait. Remember the rule. When substituting letter with a number, replace letter with parentheses first. So 2. There it is. I see an x there. I substituted with parentheses. Alright. Squared plus 4. Oh, I see another letter. I'm going to substitute it with parentheses. Minus 3y. There it is. And again, the y I substitute with parentheses, obviously. And now what you do is you go dump in the numbers into those designated places. So this was an x right here. I'm going to substitute that x with the -2, which is what they gave us. The second parentheses was another x, so I'm going to substitute with another -2. And this last one was a y, which I'll substitute with the value of its y, which is 4. All right, so there's all of that. What do I do now, folks? You whip out that calculator and you dump in the problem. So 2 parentheses -2 parentheses squared plus 4 parentheses -2 parentheses minus parentheses I'm sorry, no, delete, minus 3 parentheses 4 end parentheses. That's my problem, exactly the way it is. So I push enter and the calculator dishes out the answer of -12. You see that? This is what you guys need to do, and this is what you will be doing. Now, let's just do one last example, because the worksheet okay, so the worksheet that you'll be able to download in the link in the description box, I should say. It's a link that sends you to the worksheet. It's going to be very intimidating expressions, so let's actually try to do one of them right now, of how it's going to come across, just so you could be aware of any sort of tricks that you got to come up with. So they give us a 2x plus 3 squared, all of that over, let's say 4, plus the square root of, I don't know, 7. Alright, so I see a whole bunch of squares, I see a bunch of square roots, I see some fractions. You don't know, you probably just don't know what those are yet. It's totally fine, we'll get into that. But again, the point of this lesson is to substitute letters with values that they gave us, that the question gave us, inputting it exactly the way it is into our calculator, mastering that skill, and just getting an answer. That's the whole point of today's lesson. So that's what we got to do. The question says something like evaluate the following expression, or probably in some other fancy way, but it's along the same lines like that. Evaluate the following expression when x equals 5, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the problem, and wherever I see a x, I'm going to substitute it with parentheses first. Alright. There it is. And then I dump in the number, or the value, I should say. There's that. Alright, I take out my trusty old calculator, clear everything there. And again, please look at the calculator video that I posted, so in case I'm doing stuff here that you probably aren't familiar with, because I went over a lot of stuff in that video. So I see a fraction right off the bat, so I'm going to put a fraction, and I'm going to put 2 parentheses 5 parentheses plus 3 squared, scroll down 4, go to the side, plus second square root 7. Okay, I push enter, and boom, I see something nasty looking. Again, I explained this in the video, going over calculator tricks. In this worksheet, you're gonna have to do some converting, right? Which is totally fine, because it's just the button right above the enter sign. You click on the convert button, and the calculator dishes out the long raw number of whatever nasty thing it gives you. I don't know why the calculator likes giving us in radical forms, what they call it, but it does it, and it shouldn't be intimidating. You know that convert button is our best friend. You click on it to get the raw number, and what we see is 7.39575, whatever. You just round maybe to the nearest tenth or the hundredths, whatever the question tells you to round. In this case, let's say we round to the nearest tenth. What we get is 7.4. So 7.4 is my final answer. Pretty cool. So I just wanted to very quickly go over what you might come across, stuff that you might make mistakes on, and there's only one. The one way you could actually mess up is if, let's say, you were given an expression with let's say you were given an expression with 2 letters, like that, right? And they told you again what x and y was, 6 and 7. One of the mistakes that students do is when they go to substitute the value in for the letter, they might accidentally debate themselves. All right, this is an x. What is the value of x? It is a 6, and yet in that spot they accidentally put the 7. You see that mistake? So that's one thing you got to keep a lookout for, because this is wrong. You got to make sure you do it right, which is 6 and 7, like that. So just keep a lookout on that. The other problem is the calculation steps. Make sure if you're given a problem like this on the worksheet, let's say you are given this. 2 plus right there, and let's say you're supposed to substitute the x with a 4, let's say. So you do, I'm just going to take the easy route and get the x, and then erase that, substitute it with the 4. When you go to put this into the calculator, make sure you end, let me go back here, make sure you end the square root right there, okay? Don't let the square root continue in your calculator. So you gotta make sure you do that by doing this trick right here. Square root of 7, 4. And then click on the side to end the square root. If you do not, it will continue. See? It will continue. The square root line will continue towards the end, which you do not want that to happen. So make sure, after you put that last parentheses, you click on the right, plus 5. And do you see how the line doesn't do that? It's because you clicked on that right arrow. And then you do that, and don't forget about the convert button in case you get any nastiness going on. So, hope this was helpful, y'all. Please take your time on this. Don't forget to text me or email me with any questions, and look out for any live videos I might be posting so that you guys could hop on and ask actual live questions with me. So, hope this helped. Do not get intimidated with math, and try to take it slow. And yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Peace.